is a p square by 4. If you need to break this many number of links in order to make them as two equal parts. Okay, so that is called uh, bisection width, right? And in addition to that, I would like to mention some more points. I think available here. One is called channel width, or we can say bisection bandwidth. What is bisection width and what is a bisection bandwidth? Suppose for a given communication link, the number of bits that can be communicated simultaneously over that link connecting two nodes is called channel width. Okay, I repeat, the number of bits that can be communicated simultaneously over a link connecting two nodes is called channel width. Okay, the peak rate, the maximum rate at which a single physical wire can deliver bits is called channel rate. For example, if you take a road, at a time you can move 8 vehicles on the road in parallel. So that is called channel width. And how many 8 vehicles will pass in particular peak rate, that is called channel rate. Okay, so the bisection bandwidth, of course, nothing but the multiplication of channel width and channel rate. Okay, right. Now the fourth parameter which is mentioned here, the cost. Okay, so the cost here as a time being will referring as a number of links or switches are in the net interconnection ports. Okay, how many links are there or how many switches are there. For example, if you look at the static one, then you take the number of links, and if you take the dynamic network, you can take the number of switches. Okay, so normally cost is also another parameter. For example, if you are achieving a parallel performance, a performance because of parallelism, but at the same time we have to see how much cost you are investing. For example, if you take a person who works, right, is a one person who work better. Let us say he will do a lot of things per day, but instead of that particular person, I'm hiring 4 more persons. They can do in parallel, right? But the 4 persons cost, hiring the 4 persons cost should not exceed the first person cost. So what do you understand from this is that you're maintaining the same cost, but now you're achieving parallelism. So that is a big advantage. If you're increasing 4% and the 4% cost is 4 times in the first person, then you are getting a parallelism of no optimistic investment. You are getting huge expensive. Okay, right? So cost is such a parameter which will tell you that how your parallelism giving performance in terms performance with respect to the given cost of investment. Okay, mentioned the various criteria. The diameter I have explained just now, bisection width also explained, and you know what is the cost of nothing but number of links. And the fourth one, which I missed to explain, is the arc connectivity. So what is the arc connectivity? So in arc connect, nothing but the connectivity of a network is a measure of the multiplicity of the paths between any two crossing nodes. Okay, a network with high connection is desirable because it will reduce the contention. Okay, so for example, the arc connectivity of linear array. Okay, suppose let us go back to understand that arc connectivity. Uh, Here, if I'll break any one link, for example, any of these 3 links in the middle, then there will be divided 2 parts. Okay, so the arc connectivity for linear array, for example, tree or network, if you break one link also, they will be into 2 parts. May not be equal parts, but 2 parts. Okay, so the arc connectivity for linear array, tree, and star networks all are one. And in case of the ring, for example, figure B, you can assume this is a figure ring only. And in this case, if you break one link, still there is a connection still is there. Okay, so you need to break 2 links Okay, so that is called arc connectivity of this particular linear array with wraparound is 2. Okay, so for 2D mesh also it is 2, and if you take 2D mesh with wraparound, it is 4, and if you take d-dimensional hypercube, the arc connectivity is d. Okay, for example, this 4D hypercube, the arc connectivity is 4. Okay, 1 minute. Okay, right. Right. So these are the 4 parameters given against this um, different types of networks. The last one is very complicated, right? You can see wrap around with k array d cube. Okay, please have a look on this from the book, that how what exactly these values given there. Okay, because this also examination point of view, this wrap around with k array d cube is also important. So take this as a small assignment, that what is the value, what is the diameter for this, what is the bisection for this, and what is the arc connectivity and cost of link for wrap or up with k array dq. Okay, now these are the parameters for the dynamic network. For crossbar it is 1. Okay, right. uh, because only one switch, right. For bisection band width is p, arc connectivity is 1, one link is broken, so it will be detached from the network. The cost of link is p square, number of switches. In case of omega network, the diameter is log p, log p states are there. Bisection width is p by 2. If you remove p by 2 links, it becomes 2 parts. And if you remove 2 links, it becomes R connectivity. Okay, it will detach from the network if you remove 2 links in case of omega network. Okay, and the cost of link is p by 2. And the dynamic tree, what I shown you, the switches inside internal nodes. So its diameter is 2 log p, and 1 is the bisection bandwidth, 2 is the R connectivity, and p1 is the number of links. Okay. So if you refer the book, you can understand nothing better information hiding here. Everything is very clear. Okay, right. So now this is the basic parameters, criteria for evaluating this interconnection network, and we're going to carry out this information throughout our coming topics. Okay, all the coming of lectures, we need to carry out this information. If you are not remember this thing, then you have to look back, refer every time to understand the coming topics. Okay, so my request you that please have a go into the book once and try to remember it, and then we'll apply these concepts in coming classes. Okay, right. Now we are switching to another topic, which is not a main line here. Okay, right, but have some significance. I taught this. I used to teach these topics to the third year students in computer architecture. I don't know whether you have studied or not. If you studied this topic, then it is easy to understand now. And if you're not studied, then we need to do some exercise to understand this. Okay, right. So what is coherence in multi-process system? So as of now, whatever knowledge we have gained in this subject, right? Because of this interconnection network, the data will transfer from one place to other place. Okay, on this interconnection network. So in case of we have two types of data communication mechanism. One is the address space mechanism, and another one is message passing mechanism. Okay, so additional hardware is required to coordinate access to the data that might have multiple copies in the network. Actually, I have given one typical example where in the multiprocess system, every processor has to communicate by interconnection network, and only single memory is available. There is no cache memory. And another architecture is that every processor has its own dedicated cache. Okay, to gain the advantage of locality of reference, every processor has its own cache. Now try to imagine what I'm just explaining. Okay, now to make the interconnection network less contention, we are using the cache. Okay, now what happens whenever a particular variable is having its multiple copies throughout the all the processors. For example, a variable x is a shared variable, and the same copy is available with all the processors, I mean their own caches. Okay, now in this context, if you are accessing that particular variable x, you can perform two things on variable x, whether you read from x or you write into x. Okay, so in this context of multiple copies in the network, updating that copy or reading the copy will create a problem. That problem is called cache coherence problem. For example, two copies are there, x with two cache memories. If one is updated but other is not updated, okay, so that creates a cache coherence problem. The copy which is not updated, if that particular corresponding processor is trying to access that copy, it means that you are accessing the old value, okay, which is already updated. So that processor need to access the latest value, right? So that is called cache coherence problem. Means updation is not taking place across all the copies. One copy is updated, others are become an old copy. Okay, so you might have learned in operating system, a page may be a dirty or valid page. Dirty page means you cannot access that; it's not updated. Okay, same concept is here also. A copy, a block in a cache is also dirty or clean. Clean in the sense it is the latest copy, and dirty in the sense some copies already latest available somewhere else. Your copy is not accessible. I mean not clean, dirty. Okay, I mean it's not updated. Okay. So let us take a small example. If you look at that, there are two processors, P0 and P1, having the same copy x equal x and whose value is 1. And it is the same value is also available in the memory, x equal to 1. So now the copy is clean, okay, clean, and it is coherent, okay, it is same across all locations. Now, suppose if P0 want to modify its own value, its x value to 3. Okay, if you're not using any cache coherence I mean techniques, protocols, then what happened, the p0 value x equal to 3, and whereas p1 value and memory value are x equal to 1. So if memory or p1 try to access the x value, it becomes old value and you will get inconsistent results. Okay, so to overcome that, we have two kinds of protocols. Okay, one is called invalid protocol and second one is called update protocol. You might have studied in operating system or a computer network or in DBMS. This concept maybe you are encountered in these three subjects. Okay, right. So according to the first protocol, invalid protocol, before writing its x value to 3, P0 will send a message called invalid message to all the processors in the system and memory also. The moment a node receives the invalid message, it will make its own copy as a dirty. Means dirty bit set to 1. Okay. So similarly, process P1 will do here and memory also will do the same thing. So dirty in the sense that you cannot access the block which is reserved in your cache memory. Even though the block is available, but you cannot access. Okay. So this is called invalid. And second one is called the moment the processor P0 update its x value to 1, it will send an update message to all the P1 and memory. Okay, the moment it will update, it will send the update value x equal to 1, x equal to 3 to all other stakeholders in the network, that is processors and memory. So now we can see that x equal to 3 here and x equal to 3 here, memory and P1 respectively. Okay, right. So what is the difference here? For example, P0 want to modify its x value many times, probably 100 times. But P0 only wants initially, but not later. But here what happened, every time the P0, I'm talking about second protocol, every time the P0 modifies its X value, whether P1 require or not require, it's keep on pumping the value on the bus, on the network, so that all the values are updated. So this is consumes more bandwidth. Okay. See, the logic is very important to save the network. Simply having hardware is useless. You need to have a software solutions. So update protocol leads to a contention problem on the network, because whether P1 require or not, or memory require or not, the P0 keep on pumping, updating the values. Okay. But now in case of invalid protocol, the P0 will write it, Before it will send an invalid message and then modify its x equal to 3, and it's happy with keep on changing the x value without sending any invalid message, because the first invalid message itself confirm that nobody having the latest copy, I'm having the only latest copy. So in the first protocol, P0 keep on modifying variable x without touching the network. Okay, so you can see how a software solution can save the network, right? Simply having a solid hardware is not going to enough. We need to how to optimize that hardware is very important. So invalid protocol is going to perform better than in this context. For example, if P1 want to modify its x equal to let us take 4. Okay, so then P1 will send an invalid message to everybody and keep on writing the that is one x value. Others having the dirty copy. Okay, so this is the way when the frequent write operation takes place to particular variable, then invalid is the best protocol. Okay, so in modern architecture, this invalid is still used. You can see the last line. Most current machines uses invalid protocol. Okay, so you can apply this concept in your daily life also, where there is a others don't require anything. You cannot send or communicate them every time. One time communication is over, next time you keep on working. So this strategy can be applied in business also. Okay, right? Right. So look at the first point. If a processor just reads a value and does not need it again, I already explained about P1. An update protocol will be create a problem. If two process make interleave test and update variable, then update protocol is better. If P0 and P1 wants to update the X value interchangeably, then both have to send the invalid messages. First P0, right? P0 invalid. Please mute your mic, please. Please mute your mic. Please mute your mic. Okay. So if two process P0 and P1 want to keep on writing interchangeably, then both needs to send the invalid message. Before I writing, I will send message, and before you writing, you send a message. So every time they're sending, so it's not a good idea. Okay, so wherever there is a frequent write between two parties, update protocol is better. And if you have a frequent write by a single processor, then invalid is better. Okay. And there is another concept which can maybe encountered in your operating system, that is called actually called fault sharing. Okay, both protocols suffer from fault sharing overhead. Means two words that are not shared, however they lie on the same cache line. Okay, suppose there is a book, you require another chapter, I require another chapter, so you are exchanging the books like anything. It leads to too much exchange of the book between two parties, and that is nothing but thrashing. No significant work has been done. Only they are moving here and there. I want second chapter, you want third chapter, and we are exchanging the book because these two chapters are part of the book. Okay, right. So how you can overcome? Right. So I have discussed two protocols. So how you overcome? So there is a if you want to overcome, we make a particular block in the cache, like any one of these states, like shared, invalid, or dirty. A block variable x, for example, variable x can be a shared, can be an invalid, or a dirty. Suppose the x is with you, and it is started is shared, means somebody else having the same copy. If you have a block x and it is dirty, means somebody having the latest copy you don't have. Okay, right. And another one is it is not mentioned here. It is called exclusive or modified. Okay, in the sense that you have only one copy, nobody has the copy. That is not mentioned here. Okay, if you open the computer architecture, it is very clear there. Okay. Right. So look at this. Actually, here it is showing dirty separately and invalid separately. But actually, I will tell you this is not actually dirty. Actually, it is called modified. Okay, take one of them modified, MSI. This is a M. So replace dirty with the modified. So what do you mean by modified? It means that only one copy is there and with one of the processor. Shared means you have also copy and somebody is having the same copy, and it is a clean. Dirty means you don't have a copy, somebody having the copy. Your copy is dirty and someone's copy is clean. Okay. So now the copy, the block with the variable X will go from any of these states. Suppose if you have a X copy equal to 1, somebody requested, then the copy is transferred to that one, then both have the same copy. That is called shared. If other guy want to write that copy and he will send an invalid message and your copy becomes invalid and his copy become modified. Okay. And if you want to read it, again you request that guy, he will send a copy to you. Now both having the same copy, then it is a shared. And if you want to write it, then your copy is if modified and others' copies become dirty or invalid. Okay, right? So like that, the status of the block changes. Okay. Suppose if you have if your copy is a modified copy, then no need to send any message to anybody else. You keep on modifying because you know that your copy is the modified one. Means exclusive to your only. It's copy. It's a copy somewhere else. So no need to update any other blocks because your copy is the only one block which is clean and exclusive. Suppose if your block is shared one, then you cannot modify simply your block. First, what you have to do? You have to send an invalid message to that guy, and then you modify your block because all other blocks become invalid. So this is how the protocol works. Okay, and maintaining the coherence of the blocks. Okay, so when you are achieving this coherence, cache coherence problem, then the burden on the network is relieved to some extent. Means this all techniques is not only make the copies coherent, but try to minimize the underlying interconnection network. Okay, optimize the interconnection network. So that is the aim of this cache coherence techniques. Okay, just a minute, I got a call. Okay, so this is one example is given what I mentioned just now. Okay, suppose X and Y are actually is not D in the sense they are actually belongs to memory. Okay, this is, D means you take modified. Okay, if the processor want to read X and its status become X equal to 5, its value is X equal to 5, its S means they shared. Again, after some time, read Y want to read Y, so it's processor 1 by processor 1. So processor 1 Y value is 12, it is shared. Shared in the sense memory also having the copy and processor P0 having X copy and processor P1 having Y copy. Now after some time, X want to modify its X value plus 1. Okay, so now X equal to 6 at processor P0 and it is D in the sense modified. Nobody having this copy. Okay, so when it is modified, right? So what is the status in the memory? Become should be I, invalid, because the latest X value is 6, but the old value of memory which is 5 it become invalid. Means memory can't use that X equal to 5. It has to request P0 for latest value of X. Okay, and again similarly again after some time Y equal to modify its Y value. Now it is 13 and it is status is modified. So at main memory level Y equal to 12 old value and it is invalid. So likewise the data value changes. Okay, so at any stage, at any time, given time, your block could either it will be a stayed, it can be a modified, or it is a invalid. Okay, right? So this is very much important for your interconnection to relieve the burden of the on the interconnection network. Okay, as well as maintaining the blocks consistent. I mean coherent. Sorry. Right. So how this is the what I have explained is a concept, right? But how we are going to achieve the how we are going to implement um, invalid protocol as well as update protocol. Okay, how we are going to implement it. So we have two techniques to implement, and one is called Snoopy protocol, Snoopy based protocol or Snoopy protocol, and second one is directive based protocol. So I taught these two topics in computer architecture. I used to taught these topics in computer architecture. Okay. Anyway, so look at this. Look at that. There are three processors given in this figure, and we have a common shared memory. I mean, shared memory, and this arrow double indicates the memory which is available in the suppose x equal to 5. Give previous example. Suppose the memory we have these two, x equal to 5 and y equal to 12. So assume that in the memory we have x equal to 5 and y equal to 12. Now this cache, let us take first cache is a P0, processor P0, and it want to read X. So it will put a request on the bus. This is called request. So processor P0 will put a request on the bus, and that bus is called Snoopy bus. You know the dog name, actually Snoopy, I mean other name is dog. It can smell capability is there. So this bus also like smell something. Okay, so the Snoopy bus will catch up that request which is coming from P0, and it will forward it to the destination called memory with the help of the Snoopy bus. Then the Snoopy one will entertain the request, and it will forward the X value, that is X equal to 5. So the Snoopy bus will know that who has taken the request, and it will forward that value to the P0. So now P0 having X equal to 5, and the memory also having X equal to 5. Now the block is in shared state. Earlier it is in a modified state, but now it is a shared state. Okay. Similarly, the processor P1 also requests for Y, and it is also entertained in the same way as entertained to the processor P0. Okay, right? Now, suppose when P0 want to modify its X value, so it will send a invalid protocol on the bus. Okay, it send a invalid protocol on the bus, right? Now that invalid protocol, right, because of the Snoopy hardware for memory also, it will catch up that there is invalid bits coming for a block X. So it is updating the memory become invalid. So the X equal to 5 in memory is invalid, and the X equal to Y, it is updated to X equal to 6 at P0. So that is the job of the Snoopy bus, to snoop all the activity on the bus so that the data is consistent and can go to the targets and can reach the target as well as source. Okay, right? So every processor has a Snoopy hardware. It's keep on snooping on the bus, so it's called a Snoopy bus. Okay, in this figure they are showing Snoopy hardware and bus as separately. Actually they are integrated. Snoopy is not a separate hardware. Snoopy and bus are together. It's called Snoopy bus, not just a bus. Okay. Okay. Right. So this is points what I already explained. Okay. So once copy of data tagged dirty, all subsequent operations can perform locally without generating external traffic. Already I discussed this. Okay. Right. As I mentioned, the second technique is directory based. Okay. So what is the problem with the Snoopy bus, so that we are switching to directory based? In Snoopy bus, the problem is as usual, the contention. Because if the activity of all the processor increases, getting data from via this bus only. Okay, all right. So the bus become a contention bottleneck. So it cannot entertain all the requests to read write operations. Okay, so a particular process has to wait for long time in order to access data. I mean, read data from some other processor or write into the data by accessing the data value. Okay, so it has to wait. So it has a limitation, scalability issues. It cannot scale well. The number of processes it can handle maybe 16, maybe 4, but not in the range of in the magnitude of hundreds and more than that. Okay, so Snoopy bus is maybe efficient for small network, but for scalable, it has a scalable problem. It cannot scale well. Okay, so now we have to overcome that. We have a directory-based system. In the directory-based system, right? For each block, okay, I'm talking about not each, neither processor, neither cache, neither memory. I'm talking about each block, like block X, block Y. So there are millions of blocks are there. So when a block, for each block, there is a one directory. Okay, for each block. So for a block X, there is a block X directory. For a block Y, there is a block Y directory. For a block Z, there is a block Z directory. When a processor P0 request a block X, right? So it has to contact the directory of X. Okay, for example, if you require contact milk booth, if you require some some items like uh, stationery, how to contact stationery. So if you require a block X, for example, for a processor by processor X, processor P0, then it has to contact a directory X. Then in the directory, it has all the information of the status of the block X. For example, if the block is shared, the directory will have information about to whom all these blocks are available. If it is not shared, then it is, I mean, it is modified in which processor holding the current one, latest one, or if it is available with the memory, then it will tell only it available with memory. So directory has all the information. For example, in a network system having P0 to Pn minus 1, suppose P0 want to X, but P1 to Pn minus 1 having holding that X. So what P0 will do? P0 will request for X. What request? I want to modify variable X. Then what directory will do? It will forward the latest copy to the P0. So now P0 have a latest copy, and after that it will send a invalid message to all the remaining process from P1 to Pn minus 1. Now please mute your mic. So now P0 holding the X and all others blocks are invalid. Now the directory is updated. In the update, it mentioned that 1 against P0 and 0 against all the processors. It means that the processor P0 holding that value X. And the status is become M. So in the directory, the status of the block X is M, means modified, and is holding by P0, and whose value is against is 1. Only 1 in the network, all are zeros. So it is a vector. It's a vector of size n, where P0 holding 1, all are 0 values. So that is what the directory. Okay. So what is the advantage? The advantage of this directory based technique is that you can make a request without looking for the common bus. Okay, right? So it can do irrespective of that bus structure. So bus structure is no more here. Okay, right. Now, if you look at the bus into two category also, a centralized directory or a distributed directory. What I mentioned so far is a distributed directory. What is centralized directory? All the information of all the blocks are available at one place. So that is called centralized directory. Okay, and for each block there is a dedicated directory is called distributed directory. Okay, so to overcome the problem of scalable or single point of failure, so it is better that we can implement a distributed directory strategy. Okay, so distributed based system is more advantage and powerful than as compared to the centralized one. Okay, right. So if you look at the third one, anyway you can deal with the directory based, but the data must be carried by the interconnection network. So again, you have to rely on the whatever activity you do. If you want to communicate, you have to go on the network only. So network, we have to satisfy all these requests. Okay. Even though we have a good technique like directory based, I mean Snoopy bus and directory based, but it's again depends on the underlying interconnection. Okay. Right. So in the next class, so we'll discuss this communication cost in parallel. Okay, so that is, I mean, another very interesting concept, and we need to carry this concept forward also, right? So what is this message passing cost? So tomorrow I'll introduce it again, but before leaving, let me give a small brief information about this thing. Now imagine a train that has to start from a source station, and it has to reach a destination by crossing the some some uh, some h number of uh, stations. Okay, via h number of stations. Let us take the train is a message, and all the coaches, including the engine, are the words. So a message is nothing but a group of words. So a train is nothing but a group of coaches, including engine. Okay. So the train has to start from a source station. Let us take it is some station X, some station A. and it has to have some startup time, like get ready engine, start the engine, check up the engines. So that is called a startup time. It takes some time to start. Once it is started, it has to pass h number of stations. So that the time taken to passing the h number of stations is called per hop time. Because when the station will come, the train speed come down, or it will stop is there for 1 minute, or sometimes it will take track change will be there. So anyway, it has a per hop time. And then crossing the each coach of the train from the station is called per word transfer time. How many coaches are cross the station? Because train nothing but the group of coaches. So how many coaches are crossed the station? So that is called per word transfer time. Okay. So all to this together, the communication cost for this is TS, your startup time, plus TW is a per word time, number of words are M, so M into TW, and plus T hop time, and L is the number of stations, I mean number of communication links. So the total cost is this one, equation 1. Okay. In some cases what happen, there is no stoppage in the middle. Okay, only source to destination. So there is no stoppage. So we can assume that TH equal to 0. Okay. So in this context, the total communication cost will be TS plus ML into TW. Okay. So this topic we'll discuss in tomorrow in Friday's class. Okay. Okay. Till then. Okay. Bye bye.
Sir,
Please.
sir, there was some confusion regarding the submission time for lab-related work.
Mm-hmm.
So, can you clarify when to
Yeah.
submit
See,
and what?
for example, in every week, I will give you couple of programs from the lab manual. Okay, and
Yes, sir.
couple of programs from assignment. They are two separate. Okay,
Okay.
lab manuals program you can learn and execute on the same day, right? And assignments will be given 1 week time. So by the time next lab slot, you have to submit the assignments. Is it clear?
And sir, the ones from the lab manual,
Mm-hmm.
do we have to submit those as well?
Pardon?
The program from the lab manual,
Mm-hmm.
do
No, no,
the
no, no. You execute and keep it along with you only. No need to submit, because already I have having the copy, na? Okay. But
ah,
keep you as a document with you.
okay,
Okay.
okay,
But lab manual you have, but lab assignment you have to submit weekly.
weekly. Okay, thank you.
Okay. So whenever I'll ask for the lab programs, you need to submit together, all together. Maybe month wise, or maybe 2 month wise, like that. Okay. Or like before mid exam and after mid exam, like that. Okay.
The lab manual ones, no?
Lab manual, but assignment every weekly you have to submit.
Okay,
Okay. I'm going to check every lab. I'm going to check that document with the link. Okay. Right. And if you're not updating it from yourself, then you may get marks. I'll reduce the marks. Okay.
okay, sir. Okay.
Okay then. And another one, please send a message to your class that I think 54 students are attending the online class. It's very sad. Okay.
Yes.
So please send a message to everyone. Please attend it. Okay. Because I am recording. I'm recording how many students are attending every class.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Abhinav Jain, you have any class now?
Yes, sir. CK sir's class.
Acha, CK sir did he join? Okay. Okay, then I'm leaving. Huh?
Okay, sir.